Hey everyone, it's Celeste. It is beginning of November 2024. I'm in zone 9B and in my front garden. And today I thought what I would do is post a little video about redoing some of the garden beds. So you guys have seen me do this a couple times. I revamped a couple of these different garden beds, actually simplified them a lot, but mainly did a lot of cutting back. But one of the areas that I recently pulled a bunch of plant material out of is this one. And you can see there is an old star jasmine vine, so we cut it down pretty low because it was causing problems going up, all the way up that area. And so I wanted to pull that out and make space, but now I have this huge area which I need to fill in, and there's existing plant material. So thought I would post a video today that's just going to walk you through step by step how I take a situation like this and make it look beautiful again. Sorry I haven't been posting for a while. Everything's going okay in my world. Nothing bad from a personal perspective, just a little challenging with some of the stuff going on at work, and so I needed some time just to deal with a lot of what's happening there. And so I haven't been posting a lot of videos, but I figured today we'll just go ahead and we will rebuild this planter bed, and I'll walk you through step by step how to do that. I am further along in this process now. All I was doing was basically taking a bunch of the leaves out. Nothing too big, super boring. So I was sparing you that. You can see the existing plants, some that have broken off already as we were taking out that vine. So with these existing plants, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull these out. And I'm going to organize them in terms of how tall they are. Because really, if you think about it, all I need to do is take a lot of these larger growing plants and just move them backwards, right? So that they're hiding that corner, foundation. So I'm just going to pull them out, maintain their height. Doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to put them back that way, but it's a good clue to me that these are going to grow into this height later on. That aloe that you can see right there, that one's definitely going to come back into this corner here to give me, some of that height. I am going to put a Mission to Mars that I have in the backyard right here. And Mission to Mars, it's a mangave, and it grows super, super fast. It's not liking where I've got it right now because it doesn't have a lot of sun. So it's going to really like this location because there's much more here. Ignore the fact that I need to paint. So this was hidden for the last 15 years that I've owned this house. It's been hidden behind this vine, and so I do know I need to go in and I gotta clean all of that up, and I need to paint. And it's really funny if you see this. Look at this star jasmine. So at some point they had the thing inside of looked like they had a trellis or something, and it just grew all over that trellis. Isn't that crazy? Just kind of absorbed it into the plant. It has a little bit of sentimental value, that star jasmine. The reason we didn't completely take it out is my kids used to stand in front of it when they were little, when they would take their school pictures, because it was super pretty. And back when this was all a lawn, way back when. So we didn't want to completely pull it out, but I didn't, it was taking up too much real estate in the front yard, and I definitely wanted to pull some of that back. Plus, it was going up into the roof line and everything else, and so that's not something that's good. So anyway, I'm just going to work through, like I said, I'm just going to organize it off to the side so that I can grab the plants. Again, I'm going to maintain their height and just organize them by that. I organize them by kind, so the aeoniums go together, right? The aloes are separate. The different types of plants that I've got. I've got some Fred Ives back there. A lot of this ground cover, it'll just stay as it's toward the front of the planting bed, and it's perfectly fine where it is. So I'm just going to pull that out, including some of the jades, which obviously will keep at that height. And once I've got them out, then that's going to give me access to a lot of the debris, which was the other problem with this huge star jasmine that was like, 10 feet tall, was that it kept dropping a ton of debris all over everything, and it was just a real pain to clean it out, and it was holding moisture against the plants, which of course, aeoniums don't like, or succulents and cacti don't like. So anyway, so that's where I'm at right now. And I'm just gonna do the boring part of pulling these out, and so I'm gonna spare you that, and then I will walk you through the next steps. Okay, so we're a little further in now, and you can see I've been pulling a lot of the leaves out of this area right here, and I've been pulling the plant material. And here's some of the first, some of the more expensive rocks, some of my landscape lights I'm pulling out. See some of that over there. And again, I'm just leaving it in its original size because that helps me later to remember, oh yeah, this plant gets big, or this plant stays little. And so you can see, trying not to move too fast, I don't want to make you sick. Some of the really tall sort of tree aeoniums. So those, they can get up to 6-7 feet. They kind of tend to flop over, but these are a little more rigid, and you can see how thick that stem is, right? I found a mystery aloe. And a bunch of, I have a ton of red eyes. Some other, you can see a little bit with some of the smaller plants I'm arranging by color. And so again, I'm just putting this in a pile, and the reason why is because later when I start going back from a design perspective and be thinking about things like the colors and how are the colors working with one another, the different textures. So if you're just ripping out your plants and you're just kind of throwing them everywhere, that's not going to work. You got to think of it like a color palette, like a painter's palette, right? You're not going to have all of your colors all over the place. You're going to keep your paint together. So that's what you do as you're pulling out the plants, is just make sure that you're organizing them so that later you can quickly find what you're looking for. I'm also, as I'm pulling this stuff out, I'm looking at the health of the plants. This planting bed has not had a horrible time with pests. I have seen some spiders, so that's why you see the gloves, because I do have black widows in my area, and I haven't been bit so far, but let's not tempt fate. But I am seeing mealy. So this is something that I'm looking at, right? As I'm looking at these plants, is, and there you can see some of that. See that cottony? Sorry, let me try to get it to focus. That cottony white stuff right there. Okay, that's mealy. So it's a mealybug. And this planting bed, it hasn't been hit too hard, but you could definitely see it's starting to hit, and it's actually a little surprising for me that these plants in particular have mealy, because these are the blushing beauty aeoniums, and for the most part they tend to be pretty resistant to these. So that's interesting that it's doing that. So what that means is I'm going to be using a systemic in here, just because this is such a big area. There's no way I'm going to be able to come out with rubbing alcohol, which is how you kill off mealy, or some of the insecticidal soap. If I put neem out here, it will fry the plants. That won't work. It tends to script the coating on top of the succulents as well. I don't like that. So I don't use neem a lot anymore. So I'm just looking, and I'm seeing what kind of pests. I don't have mildew so far, but I definitely have mealy. So I'll put that systemic in. The thing about the systemic that you have to remember is that when you're putting that systemic in, you're going to have to come out and you're going to have to cut off the blooms, because at that point, if any of the bees or beneficial insects come out and they try to eat off of the flowers, what it's going to do is it's going to actually kill them. So since it's this time of year, which is November, in zone 9B in the United States, I know that I can do that because I'm not going to have a lot of blooms, right? Because we're starting to head into fall, so it'll be fine. But anything that is blooming, I will come out and I will cut it. We'll cut it off, because there's a few of these guys that do bloom this time of year. So I'm gonna keep moving forward. One of the cool things is this aloe. I love this. Right, it's a very structural element, and I'm gonna move it back, but it has babies. So that's really cool because now I can think about, do I want to group them together? Do I want to separate them? Get some more of the height. I really like these aloes. This is cool. I also could just pop them off and I could keep them for, I'm going to be redoing the front part out by the street also. And these are pretty cool plants. So that's really exciting to see some of the babies. So these are kind of the things I'm thinking about, just, pests, avoiding black widows, and then checking to see if I have babies, and then just organizing. I can already feel this is the point. This is not my favorite part, pulling all the leaves apart and pulling everything out. It tends to get kind of exhausting. So if it feels like that for you, don't worry about it. But this is definitely where I start feeling the creative juices coming in, because my brain's already starting to think about how could I organize the plants for the design, for the next design. So pretty exciting. So I can start to feel it. I keep glancing over at my rocks and my soil, which is over here, which I had delivered last night, and so I can tell I'm starting to think about, what does this need to look like, and getting excited about that design. So I'm going to keep going. Again, this is kind of the boring part, and I won't take you along in the journey with me on this, but those are the things, as I'm doing this work, as I'm kind of cleaning up these plants a little bit, I am just thinking about that type of stuff. And once I get all of this pulled out, then I will walk you through the next steps. Okay, here's another little tip. Sometimes you have some of these trailing plants, or plants that kind of tend to trail, or they get leggy like this towards the back. So that was hidden because we had, what I had in this planting bed was a bunch of bigger plants that were hiding the back of this, so you couldn't see it. It was just, it looked pretty from the front, so it was fine. But decisions are going to have to get made in terms of, what I want this to look like. But what I also know about these plants is they don't like to be moved. And when you move them, because especially this guy, jelly beans, when you move them, a ton of these little tiny leaves, they're going to break off, and it just turns into a mess, and then they don't look very pretty. So as I'm pulling apart this planter bed, and you can see I've made quite a bit of progress now, as I'm pulling that apart, I'm actually going to leave those, and I'm going to wait until I get to the final design, because I know that those plants are sensitive and they don't like to be pulled out of the ground, and I kind of like the way that they're trailing. It also is going to give the illusion that the garden, this planter bed has been around a lot longer than it actually is. So I'm using some of the big plants to pull that off. So not everything is just super tiny and little, but what I'm also doing is I'm leaving some of these trailers that tend to form this habit, over time. I'll definitely come in and I'll clean some of it up. Like you can see a gap here, don't like that. So, I'll probably tighten that up quite a bit. But we'll see, what I end up doing with this leggy part in the back. If I have other plants that I can put over the top of that and I can hide it, it's not worth messing with the plant. I can just leave the plant alone and it'll be perfectly fine. But as I'm going through and I'm building the final design, if it ends up that doesn't look good, then, I'll pull them out and I'll reset them, which is basically just cutting off the pretty parts on the end, yanking out all of the old stuff, and then resetting them back in the ground. It is cooler weather right now, so it's, not getting any higher than maybe 80, low 80s in my area, since we're heading into fall. So I can do this right now, and this garden bed also tends to have less sun exposure all day long, and so it'll be fine to go ahead and put a lot of the cuttings back in. So I'm just gonna keep moving forward, and I'll add some additional videos if I record some additional content if I can think of any additional tips and tricks to share. Okay, so here we are. This is the next phase. Basically I've removed, as you can see, all the way around, removed all of the plants except for the ones that are trailing. So like I mentioned previously, These don't like to be moved very much. That particular jade right there, it's called a ripple jade, Crassula undulata. It doesn't like to be moved. They pout bad when you move them. So I'm leaving it there for right now. If I have to, I'll move it. I don't know. We'll see. But if I can avoid moving it and disturbing the roots, then that's what I'm going to go with. But for the most part, you can see here's where we're at. So now what I'm thinking about is, okay, what am I going to do from a plant perspective? The first thing is, you can see there's a lot of this black rock, and so I'm actually going to move it towards the outer edge. And the reason why is because you can see over time the bed, it's completely flattened out. There's a little bit of undulation still in the overall design, but it looks super flat and just boring. So I'm going to create different elevations, and the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to take all of those bags of soil and I'm going to move them in. I'm not going to put them up against the foundation of the house. By the way, if you're wondering, way over there, you're saying, oh, that's touching the wood. That's just a bunch of rock that's touching that wood over there. It's not actual soil. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move the black rock as much as possible towards the front. And the reason why at this point I'm not being too worried about pulling out rock or anything like that is because, one, it's kind of actually good for the soil to have a lot of this volcanic rock inside because it creates drainage, which is really important because you can see I have that drain pipe right there. So when it rains, it dumps. I am also going to dig a trench to come out like this. I have a drain pipe extender. Before I could never get to this because it was underneath that huge star jasmine, and so now that I can, I'm going to hook up the drain extender, and then I'm going to route it out to this part out here into the yard. And what that's going to allow for is better drainage, and it won't just dump. That's not really near the foundation of the house, although that corner right there, right, it is holding up a corner of the house, and so I don't really want water there. I've never had problems with it. But I definitely don't want to create, a big hill and then have the water start pooling. So I'm going to create that drain pipe coming across right here, have it come out so that it can drain more easily, and then I won't have this problem from a water perspective. I was thinking I might do like maybe like a mini dry creek bed look or something like that. It might be cool. I don't know. We'll see as I keep going. At this point, I have no idea what I'm going to do. But this is the point where it gets to be a lot of fun for me, because once I put in the soil, I get the mounds in, and I start, putting in some of the rock. I have a bunch of the Cali Gold rock right here sitting in the driveway, so I'm going to put a bunch of that on top. That's why a lot of the reason I'm moving a lot of that black volcanic rock towards the front. So I will cover the mounds with that, and then I will start planting some of the bigger plants. And again, I have no idea what this is going to look like towards the end. I just kind of put in the big pieces. You can see I moved a lot of the big rocks out. So right there that were sitting inside the bed, I moved those out as well because those will go in afterwards, and I'll kind of bury them in so they'll look like, they were there. They just kind of fell or what have you, a little more natural, right? Part of the landscape. But that's basically where I'm at right now. And this is the part usually, I hate the cleaning part. I hate the pulling it out and dealing with all the plant mess and the bugs. Let's be honest, the bugs are gross. But this is also the point where I start to feel it's almost like a meditative type of calm, and it's really good for me. I can tell that that's happening because I start thinking about stuff in my life. I think about stuff in my personal life. I think about people in my life. I think about my work, my team at work, things that I'm trying to accomplish in my life, things that I think they're upsetting me, which I often find aren't upsetting me. So I think that's one of the benefits of gardening. People don't talk about a lot, is that when you're out and you're messing around with nature, that's actually one of the side effects, is that you get this incredibly calm, centered, grounded state. It just feels really good. It's really helpful. You know, so I encourage you to really spend some time out in nature like this as much as you possibly can, because it's really good for you and for your mental health. Okay, so the video after this, I will have all of the soil in, and then I will show you what that looks like, and you know, how I build like some of the basically the undulating hills, and a lot of it's just kind of where the soil falls, and it kind of just, I don't know, it weirdly tells me where it wants to go. So we'll see as I start moving forward, and then I'll record the next step. So we are moving right along here. You can see that I have all of the soil in, and I have started putting in the big items as well as putting some of the rocks back, the boulders, the big boulders, right? So I've got a couple along here. Now I put this jade right here, because eventually what will happen is, you can see it's already starting to kind of do it. This is just a cutting, by the way, it's just poked into the ground. That jade is gonna grow up bigger, and over time what I'll do is I'll turn it into almost like a little bonsai tree, which is gonna be nice towards, you know, as you're walking towards the front, because you'll see this like, you know, bonsai'd out jade that will kind of expand, plus it can handle heat. And so what's gonna help there is that any of the plants that I have over along here that can't handle some of that heat, because this part of the bed tends to get hit by the heat, that jade will eventually turn into that little tree, and it'll fill that in. And it'll kind of match over here, although now that I'm looking at all of this, I think I need to redo all that. But you can see I put the very large aloe in that corner like I was talking about. I did end up moving that jade, the undulata jade. It came out with a bunch of the roots and everything, and it wasn't too disturbed. It was kind of weird. It almost looked like it was like, came out like almost in the shape of like a little 8-inch pot or something. It was super bizarre. So I'm gonna cross my fingers that means that jade isn't gonna be super furious about the fact that I did that to it. But it is going to help from this perspective to kind of hide that drain pipe. The drain pipe is a problem from this view. As you can see, there's no good way to cover that up. Now, I will be painting all of that white, that post white, so you know it's going to be consistent, but that still looks like ick. So what I'm going to be doing is, I have another big rock around here somewhere. Then I'm going to kind of lean against that to kind of help to hide it a little bit. I'm going to add some river rock that I put, because you can see there's kind of a natural where I dug for it to come out right here from a drain perspective. So it's going to run right along that little area like that and then out. So it kind of makes almost looks like a little riverbed right there, right? So that was what I was talking about earlier with I have the ability to maybe create like a little riverbed. This aloe is not happy about the fact that I yanked it out. It's pretty heavy, so planted it. You know, I can't go like too deep with it because it'll rot, because I have to have the rock, you know, underneath the plant. So I'm going to cross my fingers on that right now. I've got some rock sitting on some of the lower branches, kind of holding it in place. So I'm going to hope those root pretty quickly. So hopefully that's gonna help. You can see this kind of weird ring of black rock. Ignore that, you know, eventually I'm going to move that up in, right? But right now it's just sitting there. Underneath all of that is that actual same Cali Gold, plus I've got more in the driveway. I can just cover that up once I get to that point. I moved a pot out here. I like to put tipped pots in the landscape, and then I kind of somewhat buried it right there. And the reason I did that is because this is a, oh my gosh, I'm going to forget the name right now. It's a spurge. And I actually grew that from seed, which is really, really cool. The pot looks awful, so I'll pull those plants out and, you know, redo the top dressing, make that look nicer. But that thing, Balsamophoria? Yeah, that's what it's called. It actually also has like a bonsai form that it can get when you train it to do that, and where it was at before it wasn't getting enough sun. And so moving it to this location, this is going to it's going to have more sunlight. So again, it's going to kind of create that canopy that I'm looking for to help to shade some of the plants that are smaller. And then I have one of the aloe babies that I'm putting over here. So it's almost where its parent was, but you know, set back a bit, right? And then of course, I put a jade behind that. So you can see that one right there. That jade behind there, that will fill in nicely. And so that will kind of, you know, fill in that backdrop. So all I'm doing right now is I'm putting in the big elements, I'm putting in the rock, and then I'm looking at it and saying, okay, now how am I going to move, you know, some of these smaller pieces around and be able to, you know, hide some of these issue areas that I've got. So for that drain pipe, like I said, I'm going to add some rock. I've got one more big rock I could put right there to help that, and then and kind of hide it. And then I'm also going to you know, add some of that river rock in there. But I've also got some really big, tall, you remember some of these aeoniums, they're the tree aeoniums. So I can actually put those towards the back, and what those will do, they will go up, you know, they can be up to 6 feet tall. So those will also be nice towards the back, and then also hide to, you know, and just not really hide, but it's more like soften everything going on, you know, with that post and that drain pipe. So that's what I'm going to do now, is just start putting this in. And of course, this is the fun part. I'm starting to run out of sunlight, so I have to keep moving. And I will, you know, as I get to the next step, then I'll add a little more video. Okay, here's the finished product, and it's been in about 2 weeks. So I took the original video and I pulled everything apart, and then got really busy at work, and so wasn't able to get back to actually finishing some of this off. So sorry for the delay in posting the video, but so you can see I pulled out a lot of the aeoniums that I had in this section, moved a little horthia up, ended up moving the jade. So this jade right here, ignore the paint, I have to paint. So that's the next thing that I'll be doing. And then I kept some of these other plants in. I put this bigger jade here. My plan is as this one gets bigger, kind of like this one over here, which is way out there. And I have another one that's over here. So what I do is, you can see I kind of make them look like little mini trees. That helps with frost in my area, zone 9B. So you can see it's pretty challenging in this area because of the heat extremes, heat and cold extremes, which is why I have the Desert Museum trees. But as this one gets bigger, it will help with protecting, because I don't have that star jasmine in place anymore. And just I put in some of the Fred Ives, you can see, right? Some of the aeoniums. I cleaned up a bunch of the, you know, Athona capensis that I had right here. It's just getting to be a little bit too much. And this whole area right here, this is actually, get down here so you can see low, this is where the downspout comes into. So it comes down through this area, almost looks like a little dry stream bed for me, and then will actually flow out right here. That's where the end is. We did actually have like a little weird rainstorm, and it handled it just fine, so that was pretty cool. Put one of my curly echeverias out here, which I thought was really beautiful. It's kind of hitting the sun in just the perfect way. More of those gorgeous rocks that I got previously, so you can see those as it goes up into the design. Move the aloe out to the front like I talked about. And you can see I just basically cleaned everything up, right? Just made it much cleaner, nicer looking. It won't stay this way. Sadly, the plants will grow very fast. but you know, it's good for now. And the idea here was just have this, you know, so that it's kind of coming down over the mound. I thought that was just beautiful, the way that all that was knitting together. Funny that aloe did not want to stand up, so a lot of those plants are actually propping the aloe, but you know, it'll throw out roots and then won't have that problem very soon. And some more of the Fred Ives that are in place. More of the rock. I put one of the plants, this plant, oh man, Balsamiferia is what it's called. And it's the one right here that's going up. That's seed grown. I actually grew that from seed. It hasn't been happy because it was in an area where it wasn't getting enough light, and so I added that in. I still need to do the top of the pot. The top of the pot doesn't look super cute, but I think that that's going to do better. Those plants can, they almost look like bonsai when they grow out big, so that's kind of the idea, is that's going to fill in this whole area over here. Another one of those big aloes. I'm going to put one of the babies in, one of the larger babies. So that would be cool. And popped in, oh, I'm forgetting the name of this mangave. I can show you in a second. This mangave, oh, pineapple punch, there we go. It doesn't look like it right now, but they get like bright pinkish looking, so it's pretty cool. Some of the aeoniums, so you see these aeoniums right here, those are actually, they're a tree version of aeonium, and so what they'll do is they'll get, you know, 3-4 feet tall, so it'll be cool because it'll kind of hide some of that vining. I'm leaving the vine for now because the vine may, you know, send out shoots, but my big problem is that I need to paint, because you can see that pole, they never actually painted it. Because the vine was under there, and so that's going to be part of my thing that I'm going to be doing this weekend, is getting that paint. You can see the paint bucket there, to get that done. And some more of my Blushing Beauty aeoniums. They handle it out here very, very well. Some of these plants that I told you that I don't tend to move, because you know, they're just too fragile. You see some of them dropping off. They're too fragile, so it's just easier to do. And around over to here, losing some sunlight. Sorry about that. Just more of the aeoniums, some of the Fred Ives, have rocks, you know, that are in kind of a vertical. Makes it look cool. And so yeah, that's it. So that's the new design for by the front of the door. And oh, and then I have this pot also that I brought out, which kind of looks awkward. I don't know, maybe I'll move it backwards a little bit or up onto the porch. We'll see. I'm moving some of the stuff onto the porch now, some of my collectibles that I have, and need to paint and then clean up everything. So basically that's it. Hope everybody is having a wonderful weekend. It is November, and it's been probably a little over 2 years since I put this garden in, you can see. And I've gone through and I've done a lot of cleaning. After 2 years of growth, it was kind of crazy. So I've done a lot of that to you know, get everything cleaned up before winter time starts, especially right now. You want to be cleaning out a lot of the leaves from underneath the plants, because once the rain kicks in, it is going to cause rot. So that's part of what I have learned during this time of year for Northern California, is just make sure that you're getting rid of a lot of the detritus that's sitting underneath the plants. Otherwise they're going to rot, but otherwise everything's looking good. And we're starting to get temperatures down into the 40s now, so a lot of the euphorbias have had to move so that I'm protecting them. They don't usually like it when it goes below 50. They can handle it, but they don't like it, and they start dropping leaves and everything else like that. So I still have a lot of plants that are left over, and this is actually, sorry, you can see my shadow here. You can see a bunch of the plants that I have from, which they almost look kind of cool like that. But I cleaned up the front of the house as well, and so this was a lot of the extra plants, so I need to probably sell a bunch of those on Facebook. I think that's what I'll be doing. So anyway, that's the final design. Sorry for taking so long to post. It's just been a lot going on at work, and I just haven't had as much time to be able to make videos, but have been trying to get out into the yard as much as possible so that I can find my happy place. Anyway, I hope you're having a great weekend, and feel free to like and subscribe, send me any questions you may have, and if you're in the United States, happy early Thanksgiving. Thanks so much. Bye.